Oh goody. I'm not quite set up here yet, but Cuddles showed up, so on the off chance, no, I guess he's going over there to the critter bed. Okay, so I'll set up a little better here, and I have a journal for you. On the off chance that we might get a rainbow or two before the sun sets. You know, my autofocus isn't doing well, but I guess it's because I don't have lights on. The poor dear doesn't know what to do with itself. So I'll get a wee bit closer. Maybe that'll help it out. Okay, a little strange. What can I say? I mean, come on. What do you expect from me, folks? That's just the way of it, huh? Okay? Now, I have been high as a kite, figuratively speaking, but, my friends, I don't doubt that before too long it won't be figurative anymore. Our new abilities are on the horizon, they are here. And it is up to us to transition with them and to unplug sufficiently from the old matrix and from, not from 3D, but from attachment to 3D. Not from thought, but from attachment to thought. As we stay unplugged and open, then we are in precisely the perfect place, centered within, to be attuned and to get our cosmic DNA tune-ups coming, hot and heavy, coming along fast. So March was wild, February was wild, and April's on its way to being wild. We had the 7th, the Mars-Venus conjunction at 20 degrees of Aries. And yesterday, we still feel the effects today. The sun and the moon occupy the same spot in conjunction at 20 degrees of Aries, otherwise known as the full moon. And we have an eclipse sandwich coming up. They often come in 2s. This one will come in 3s. And I think the first one is on the 25th. And I haven't studied up any more than that on it. However, if things have been challenging for you, pat yourself on the back. You're right in tune, you know? If things have been totally easy for you, honey, you're asleep. Okay? So, the great shift is here. We're in the midst of it. And it's on us to have the God vision, the heart vision, to be able to see. Okay? Watch your beliefs. It's a great time for gardening. You know, put the boots and the gloves on, get the hoe and the rake or whatever it is, you know, the weed puller of your choice, and get out there and lovingly tend your belief garden and pull the weeds. Get rid of any belief that does not serve you well now. Okay, as the sun sets and we have no more chance of either sun gazing or rainbows, I'll give us a little more light here of the artificial variety, as in up the exposure. So I can at least be seen, you know, that's there, that should help a bit, huh? Okay, it'll do. I'm just not worried about it. At 13:33 Monday, the 8th, I wrote this journal. The Mayan day was 8 Lamat, which is star, rabbit, or Venus. And these are glasses, which I may have to whip out because my eyes have been just challenging. having to make everything big to read it. All right, here goes. Not sure what has driven me here to the journal. I feel sort of pregnant with something, so I'm here to find out what. Just an inner feeling of being full of a certain something, much like to mind, a word that's on the tip of your tongue but just doesn't quite appear. That feeling of it being so close. One thing I can report as a result of setting aside 30 minutes or so to center in silence. Now, while I'm not yet saying I am adopting this going forward as a practice, I will say I'm seeing some fruit. Like anyone who has set the intent to enter the silence, I am familiar with mind's antics to lead the way simply anywhere else. Still and quiet are not for mind, and this is discovered on the very first attempt to be still. This is no big revelation. The fruit of setting this time of quiet I see right here in the journal. While the journals come always from a sacred flow, there's a measure of purity or strength of that flow. Sometimes the stream can be a bit muddied with thought. Please know that I don't look at thought as bad or undesirable. Thought is not my enemy, nor is anything, as the whole resistance thing is a setup in the realm of duality. So, no resistance here, and that's a first step. What I mean by this fruit of being silent is that now, when I come to the journal, there is an increased measure of silence that attends, that comes with me. At least that's one way to say or see it. The centering is better such that I'm able to spot where mind might like to come in and grab and carry the focus in some direction that's not solely the focus of heart. Too many words to convey something so very simple. It's easier to spot mind at work. Oh well, it is just what it is. Sometimes when the new ideas or understandings are coming in, they are not yet as clear as they will be once they're really seen. It just comes along with the whole flow thing. I'm not saying there aren't those out there who are far more expert at this. No doubt there are. Still, that doesn't muffle this voice, the one singing this song. We all have our specialties, things we've worked on for who knows, maybe millions of years, or embodiments. Hey, quit thinking that flesh thing is you, that you occupy there. You're not that. You're huge, and you're ancient. Make room for it. Get used to the idea. If you like, maybe even make room for it in your garden of belief. You are divine. Now, what happens to those beliefs? Let's say the better or more productive ones. When they grow as beautiful flowers and blossom, fragrancing the air for you, what comes next? Are we always then stuck with just beliefs? Isn't there something better, something more mature than beliefs? Yeah, your heart knows the answer to that. Sure there is. Beliefs and their cousin, faith, are very 3D, working best in the realm of duality. Yet they can help us grow beyond that. How? How we choose our beliefs is key here. Well, not as much as, not as much, okay, not as much how as which beliefs we choose, for not all beliefs are equal. They are all like fruits that produce after their kind, or maybe like seeds in a higher dimension. While in 3D they are plants and flowers in one's garden of belief, those very same things also have extra-dimensional or multi-dimensional action. Free will and choice are the main tools we're discussing here, the result of those choices. I'm sorry, the focus is so bad on my camera. It's partly my eyes, friends. You know, when it's out of focus, I don't really see that it is because my eyes are out of focus. Oh dear. Okay, anyway. Okay, free will and choice are the main tools we're discussing here, the results of those choices. Like a new suit of clothes, we often try a new belief on to see how it fits. Does it bind or constrict us? And if so, in what ways, in what areas? Does it bind the spirit or only the mind? What is its action? What is its fruit? Over time, one's belief garden takes on certain themes. There is some consistency in the groups of flowers we plant. They help us craft our 3D identity. They craft our 3D reality, whether we know it or not. If we never pay them any attention, never self-observe, then we won't likely be aware of this. The meditators, by being more self-observant, will or are more likely to notice such things. What are the consistent themes in your life, both quote-unquote bad and good? If you'll be centered for your looking, they'll be more easily seen, instantly, in fact. Now, I'm not saying that the collection of beliefs you chose for this life are what makes you who you are. Not at all. Be in heart. So let's start with the important basics, such as, who am I? Who or what is this I we're discussing? Do you mean the same thing by I that I do? It's not likely, but it's quite possible. If you recognize and own your divinity, your divine nature. Anything less and you're not tracking with me. So, this great I that I am, that you are, this one is not created by nor composed of beliefs. That would be ridiculous. When we're discussing beliefs and the creations that are their results, we're largely discussing our life in 3D. This is where we witness the great power of beliefs to create, to craft our 3D reality. Yet the time has come, is fully arrived, for us all to begin to own the higher self as our true nature, our constant reality. That is more truly who and what you are than anything manifest in 3D, which is really a playground or a dreamland. Okay, obviously I stepped out long enough to fix the lighting up. So, to continue. Stay in heart for this, but do remember that an atom is not solid. No matter how solid things seem to be, they are not. It's an illusion, or an evidence that this is a dream. You can see this if you choose to do so. But it's important for purposes of these journals that you see this from heart, not mind. I say with 100% certainty that mind will just mess it up. How so? Well, first, by thinking, by being sure even that it understands, when it doesn't. And that's guaranteed when discussing things of and from heart. When we're centered, we simply know that the great danger sign is when mind is so sure that it knows something. That spells trouble up ahead, but only in one condition: if we choose to believe mind, to agree with it. And this, my friends, is why so few people understand you. As a race, humanity on 3D Earth is not yet good at all at understanding one another. Very few even know how to listen, being convinced that simple hearing is enough. In no way is that the case. We're using words here, and there's a danger in that. They are so easily misunderstood. I could switch my use of the words listening and hearing and make the same case with them. So, it's not that the words matter. What matters is what's being said, and that rides under the words. With the mind, we hear only the words, not what rides under what is meant by them. When we listen from deeper within, a more deeply centered state, then we're far more likely to hear what's being said. How is that? We are all multidimensional. Yet, when we, by our beliefs, limit the self to 3D, then we're just not equipped to use the fullness of our multidimensional presence. Mind is a creature of 3D, and that's quite beautiful. Mind has no need to be anything other than what it is. That's not sensible. Instead, it's on us to use the right tool for the job. And to do this effectively, it takes being aware of the fullness of who we really are, or at least getting close to it. If we're not aware of it, then how can we make use of it? How you see the self is absolutely critical to how you experience your life. I haven't found anything more important. If you allow the self to be convinced that it's just a body-mind occupying 3D, then you have chosen and then set your limits. Though you don't, in this case, consciously know you're divine, that doesn't matter. You are. And so, those limits will stick. When you're aware of more of the fullness of your divine nature, and you begin to access that, you can't help it. It comes online ever so easily, being a part of the flow for you. Then things like our overall oneness begin to make deeper sense to you. You directly experience that. You grok it. Or at least you are open to do so, unlike the former mind-dominated state with its built-in limits. Parenthetically, built in by you with the crafting, the selecting of your beliefs. Come from deeper within the self. That's where we all join up, where our oneness is felt. You feel it already, even if mind thinks you don't. You both feel and know simply everything, but it's not a mental, not a conscious mind thing. It is of heart, or the deep divine nature of the one, of self. Do you see what is meant when I discuss your power to disagree with your own mind? Are you getting the sense of it, of how it works, at least for me here? That's my hope, of course, and while I trust it'll work differently for you, it may not. Yet overall, certain processes are the same. All of this is foundationed on that part of self, that part or the whole of self, with which you choose to identify. Based on your fundamental choice, you will have a different experience of life. One either more limited to 3D or one of increased empowerment. You choose your own turf. Yet most people are not yet free enough within to feel empowered, to feel worthy to make these identity choices. Most are ignorant of the possibilities even. Most feel trapped in their life to 3D only. Then, when they identify with only that limited aspect of the self, their experience of life is likewise limited. How to tell them? Someone questions. I say, don't. They are not your business. Let us stick firmly to now and to self. If we will do so, then the so-called problems of the world will heal themselves. It will be a natural outcome of the flow, heart flow. Just like the body is a self-healing mechanism, so is the earth, so is the cosmos. We just have to get out of the way. There is nothing more important for you to choose from a 3D perspective than your identity. It is the foundation of everything else. I hope you can see this. We are all in a constant process of choice in the flow of our now. We make an almost endless number of choices in each day, being aware of far less than 1%. Do you know this? Do you know how those choices are being made? Be in heart with this and have a good look. When in heart, you can sense the flow of this stream of choices. They happen faster than fast, hugely carried on below the stream of conscious awareness. The brain is a master filter for what is out there in true reality, if we want to look at it that way. For what portion of that will it let in? Conscious mind would be quickly overwhelmed to perceive the whole of its actual environment. And thus, the brain acts to selectively restrict what flows into conscious awareness. Well, do consider then, if conscious mind isn't even presented with the whole of the reality, then who or what makes those choices? They are indeed choices, and they are made by you, just not the conscious part. It is beneficial to take responsibility for this activity of choosing. It goes right along with taking your power back into the real self that you are. Clearly, this activity goes on beneath conscious awareness, so that must mean the subconscious or the unconscious mind are involved. I'm sure they are. We know that our garden of belief is planted in the subconscious, and I just felt quite a few get it. The rest that I'm going to say. Yes, it is by choosing your beliefs that you have been making all of those choices. Even though many of our beliefs were programmed and conditioned into us as young children, still they are our beliefs. We do have charge of them, and we can make whatever changes in our garden that we choose. It is by taking this deeper level action, buried below the conscious self, that we continue taking our power back. Sure, it takes some effort, some clear intent, but we can change the shape of our belief garden. We are free to pull things up or plant them, to water and to fertilize the ones we choose to keep. Nothing is stopping us. Now, some will pipe up and say, "Heck yes, something is stopping me. It's my programmed beliefs." I would ask you to look at that. Now, please look at who you take yourself to be. Only the 3D self is bound by those beliefs, not who you really are. So then, the first change or shift to make is in who you take the self to be, in choosing your identity. That's the first step of empowerment. Now leave mind behind for as much of this whole journey as you can, friends. And sure, it will speak up, it will moan and groan and do what it can to sabotage what you're doing. That's okay, as long as you just ignore it. There's no need to believe anything it presents. You can choose to refuse. I hope you see by the flow of this journal how the identity question is so critical. Everything else is built upon that, so choose carefully. I wouldn't go about necessarily changing a whole raft of beliefs at once. This is more powerful work than you likely yet realize. Instead, I would work on choosing my identity, on who I take myself to be. That comes first. It will be challenging enough just changing that one. And yet, by setting the intent to do that, and then maintaining proper focus on that in your self-observation work or joy, you will begin to experience results. You will eventually, and maybe even right away, begin to feel things shift internally. Now, there are not words for this, but the self-observant ones will just see and know what is meant. This is powerful work, my friends. All your hassles, all of your perceived limits, your frustrations with feeling blocked will eventually go down as you pursue this work, this joy. Yes, it is work, but it is also joy. And that too is a choice you can make. See to it that you make it in a way that pleases you. And please, don't be in a rush. If you are, know that is just mind. There's no rush in heart flow, and it is simply perfect. You are that perfection. Often, we may have to wait for some time to perceive its full perfection. Yet, hindsight will show us how beautiful, how perfect is that flow. The one that dances us along in its flow, if that is the net result of our choices. When life feels like it isn't going your way, isn't favorable to you, I'd say first center down, enter heart, and then look and see who it is that's feeling that. Self-observe. And be on the alert, be on the lookout for mind at work. This work takes knowing that you are not that. You are source. You are consciousness. You are awareness. You are spirit, if you will. Not that there's really a word for this, but mind, you are not. In this way, your decision, your choices around identity will swiftly bear fruit. Don't have any expectations, for that would be mind. By just sticking with now and with self, you succeed. You can't be stopped. As long as this remains a free will universe, your success in this work is guaranteed. Now I'm going to step out just a second and talk to those who challenge me for saying you are not mind. Of course, you are mind and you are everything else. But that's not your identity. That's just a tool. Okay? We play with what looks like and feels like separation, but it's not. And if we know it's not, we're ahead of the game. All right. It's all a matter of choices, of taking ownership of each and every choice made by any part or aspect of you. And that includes both the subconscious and the unconscious mind. You won't be aware of what they're doing, but they're yours, they're you. You're responsible. If it's in your life, then you chose it. Maybe you chose it pre-birth, before this lifetime, but you chose it. Can you make room for that in your garden of belief? Plant and then tend it, help it grow. Learn to recognize this as taking your power back. Are you game? Are you one of the brave, the courageous ones who is willing to rethink or reconsider this whole matter of identity, of the who am I? It makes such major shifts in the life that at some points you have to really hang on. Often enough, you'll lose your balance. Well, that will be mind's take on it. You will learn to distance self from mind so that your choices originate from much deeper within. And you'll feel better about your choices too. You will even learn to ignore or disagree with mind. Now, even the idea of ignoring or disagreeing with your own mind is a shock to the sheeple. You're not that. Yet, we all came through as either sleeple or sheeple for a time. So we do understand that state. We just made our choices to leave it. But we can have compassion on those still within it. One last caution. Don't take things too seriously. Your self-observation will show you it's always, only always, the mind doing that, taking things so deadly seriously. It just isn't heart's way. So be sure to take some time out to laugh. The more you recognize your own divinity, the easier you will take things. Not that you'll be lazy, but that you'll just have a different attitude to the whole grand drama. You'll be watching your fears disappear, fade away. Perhaps taking things too seriously is really just fear in action. I don't know. I just know it's not fun, so I like to catch the self at it. The more something is seen through, the quicker it just fades away. Namaste.